Hey everybody, welcome back. Man, that was so short. I almost feel like I'm not even warmed up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I always feel like I kind of get in my flow. I don't know, maybe a little bit into the cast, but man, I feel like we've still just started. So look, Maru defeats Trigger. Not too shocking, really. Maru's probably going to defeat everybody in this tournament and win it, unless we have a crazy upset. But let's not give up on Trigger. Let's not sleep on him. I think there's a world where Trigger can still get out of this group. Up next is Rogue. Going up against NightMare. I'm really curious where exactly Rogue's at right now. I mean, the reality is we had it's been 11 months since we had a GSL. EWC was last year in August. So we just haven't had the same amount of competitive StarCraft. So, normally I'll look at either other GSLs or other recent major, tournaments and try to gauge where he's at. I don't know where he's at right now.
I feel like that's the case for basically everybody.
Yeah.
It's just, for a long time, I've always felt like I had a very good read on the relative power level of players.
Right.
Just watching all these major tournaments and seeing their results and following their games. But we've been in a little bit of a dark age over the past 8-9 months.
Right.
And in the interview, Rogue said that he was feeling confident, especially against NightMare. It seemed like he really thinks he's going to take it. But NightMare was mentioning in that same interview that he didn't really let up on the practice. During that dark age, he was still grinding. He thinks a lot of the other people have been slouching. And so for somebody like NightMare, who is just a staple for round of 16 GSL going back forever, basically. It's been, 9 seasons I think he's been in GSL. This might be his opportunity to have really a breakout season. If he has been grinding nonstop, I am so interested in seeing what he's going to bring to the table here against Rogue, against Maru. He has a very good shot at making it to the round of 8.
Yeah, let's see what happens here. If I had to predict this group, I would say that, okay, Rogue advances here, Maru beats Rogue, and then after that, I'm really not sure who's going to take it.
Yeah.
That's where I'm really guessing. But let's see if I'm wrong, guys. Second best of 3, ready to go. Let's do this. All right, guys. Rogue in the top right, NightMare in the bottom left. We're still trying to unpack the current state of PvZ here.
Yeah.
What we saw SOS do, I don't think has anything to do with what, this is actually going to look like, right? So I'm much more interested in, the way that, Rogue or NightMare would approach this.
Yeah, the energy recharge ability being added in the previous patch has been one of my favorite changes for Protoss in a very long time, just as somebody who enjoys playing the ladder. I love having an Oracle and just instantly charging it up. And it just has infinite energy.
I like that artwork.
Yeah, that's nice. Is that a volcano? Is that a hatchery?
I think it's a hatch.
Maybe a lair. It had some spikes.
Yeah.
I think it's teched up.
Maybe it's a spore crawler morphing in.
So good to have an audience here again. But yeah, with SOS's games yesterday, we basically didn't get to see him use the energy recharge ability at all, really. I think he might have used it in some games, in the late game, for some Templar. But by and large, he was just kind of doing his own thing. He was going for Tempests in PvZ a lot of the time. He was really playing by the beat of his own drum in typical SOS fashion. And so I'm curious how a player like NightMare, who has typically followed more of the Korean standard meta, especially in a matchup like PvZ, what his approach is going to be here against Rogue. Are we going to see those early oracles? Are we going to have them constantly getting recharged for stasis wards, for mass energy, for revelations? I'm curious at where the game is going to be at, because even talking with Raynor after the GSL games yesterday, he was mentioning that, yeah, the ability is very good in the Nexus, but not every pro has fully embraced it. People are still a little bit stylistic.
Right.
In discerning when they should use this power, because it is costing you a chrono boost, right? It's 50 energy on the Nexus to charge 100 energy on a unit.
It's kind of like a new resource that you have to figure out how to manage.
Right.
But I'm glad we're making these adjustments in the game.
It's fun.
I mean, I don't know if we can actually do something, how do I say this, anything too crazy, but I would welcome some more changes in the game just to see. I'm going to throw this idea out here. I don't know why we haven't tinkered with how many workers you start with again.
Oh, you want to do it more? go down
More
to like
or
10,
less.
go to 14?
No, I'm just saying, like, it's something we could try. It would change all the builds and all the openings and make for different early games and mid games. And it's like, why not? You know what I mean? Like, I figure this is just like another thing you could do that could, you know, add some variety to the game without doing anything that I think is inherently controversial.
Yeah, that's fair.
You know what I'm saying?
I like the tempo of StarCraft 2 as a viewer experience right now with 12 workers, but
Sure,
I am
sure.
a little bit nostalgic for the 6-worker start. I felt like it felt better
or like,
to play.
What if you have like 8 or 9? Or, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, oh, you know. Yeah, I don't know. I just want to throw that out there. See what people downvote that on Reddit. It's a terrible idea. That's what I wanted to do.
Well, interestingly here for NightMare, he's also opening with the Void Ray, similar to the way that SOS was playing in his game. So no early Oracle. Instead, it's going to be a Twilight Council follow-up behind that Void Ray. Of course, the main advantage of the Void Ray this early on is that you're able to ideally supply block your opponent by sniping these Overlords, but primarily it's about denying scouting. So Rogue a little bit in the dark right now, doesn't know about this third base timing just yet. He's going to be able to sacrifice an Overlord to see perhaps if it's a Twilight Council tech or something else. And it will be a Glaives follow-up here for NightMare.
So the Void Ray is going to push in. Can't get too much done here. There's always a little bit of a risk when you send the Void Ray out like this, because if there were Lings hidden on the map and they counterattacked and like hit your third, you could get it force canceled. But that's not happening, so this is good for NightMare. He's going to try to come in here, and it's like, you know, it's a scout. You know, maybe there's like an Overlord you can blast down. We have Glaives, Adept Glaives being upgraded for the time being.
Yeah, 4-gate Glaives, I think.
Yeah.
Tried and true. Classic build. I feel like we've been seeing 4-gate Glaives in GSL for a very long time, and usually it doesn't go very well in the Protoss' favor. But every best of 3, we get it at least once.
Yeah, we get this a lot. We'll see if this could be one of those games where it works out.
Yeah, Rogue right now still playing pretty greedy. About 10 Lings in total on the map, 6 Queens. I think he did only lose 1 Overlord. That Overlord in the bottom right corner never actually did get found by the Void Ray. And actually, even additional gateways coming in here from NightMare. So I wonder if he's going to transition from this Glaives timing attack into something like a Stalker Sentry push coming up here. Because it feels like he really wants to ramp up the pressure here against his Zerg opponent.
Okay, Void Ray coming in here. The drones are preemptively evacuated, which I actually really like, because if you don't kill any drones, this doesn't do anything. The Shade is going to glide right through here. Oh, not.
I think it's blocked by the Spore Crawler.
Yeah. Dude, this is like a masterclass in stopping Adept.
What an
This is like
defense.
literally the best Adept hold of all time. I can't even believe this.
Huh.
It did
Yeah,
nothing.
it's clean.
It literally did nothing.
Oh, and the best part about this here for Rogue, too, is that he hasn't really made a lot of Lings up until this point.
I've never thought of this. You know when you see somebody do something so new, you're like, oh.
Yeah.
It's probably like the first time somebody saw a bicycle. And you're like, oh, so you can just have 2 wheels and get around on that? I guess humans can. I'm like looking at this Spore Crawler that basically operates like a
supply depot in like a Terran wall.
What is the door on a fortress called?
The door on a fortress, like a gate?
The gate or whatever. I don't know. It's like a big fortress gate.
Oh, and the Roaches are going to find the proxy, too. So Rogue knows that there's going to be a follow-up, and the most natural one to this is, of course, going to be Blink Stalkers. And, you know, for Rogue, one thing that's kind of nice for him, although he will lose a couple of Roaches here on the retreat. Oh, this counterattack, too. Great for him. Is there a recall coming in? How much is getting recalled? Is it just going to be the Adepts? Any time that Rogue can buy like this is just money in the bank for him, man. That's going to pay dividends because he is already at 60 workers. That is where he wants to be. He just wants to pump Roaches, get Roach speed done, eventually get +1 ranged weapons, and anchor the defense with that back at home. But these Lings doing a pretty good job of buying time. But I love the wall in here for Rogue because it means he didn't need to commit to Lings at all for a good defense. No. So NightMare has a bunch of Glaive Adepts, and he's about to fight someone who's primarily Roach Ravager, which Adepts are just atrocious.
Yeah, they're very bad in those kind of fights. So we're going to see probably a maxed out timing push here in an attempt to flatten the third base, maybe even win the game.
Yeah, NightMare basically needed to abandon ship on that timing attack. He was really gunning up for, what, 6, 7, 8 gate pressure with Blink and 1 Sentry. But the wind is just completely out of his sails. He's going for a Templar Archive now, trying to get Storm, trying to get some splash damage on the board before Rogue eventually pushes across this map with the Roaches and the Ravagers that he's accumulating back at home. And it's actually NightMare who's being a little bit more greedy as a result. He's up to 66 workers. Still only 58 drones for Rogue, so there's a lot hinging on this attack coming in from Zerg as he's moving across the map. Stalker's a little bit out of position to the north right now, and Rogue going to be coming in on this third base. Only one sentry force field drop, and all the Templar are going to fall.
Yeah, this is a lot. The Stalkers at the top are trying to kite this, but the sheer volume of Roaches and Lings and Ravagers, I mean, there's just nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. You can see the Stalkers retreating back into the corners of the base. Every fight everywhere is basically being lost. I think this could be the beginning of the end. Another warping of Stalkers over here, but I don't think this rush is going to end. I think he's going to be pushing all the way through here. He's going to take out the Nexus, so this base is officially fallen. Is there enough Stalkers to maybe be microed in a way where NightMare can hang on? I'm not so sure about that.
I mean, maybe he could stop this. I don't know if he can stop any of the reinforcements, though. There is just so much. Oh, and with tunneling clause, too. No detection, tasteless.
Oh, my God.
Oh, there is a cannon, but it's a little bit too late. GG is called, and what a clean game from Rogue.
More and more timing attacks here. All right. What time is it? We started 6:30?
7:18 p.m.
All right, so we've gone through 3 games at a commercial break.
Wow.
In under 50 minutes. Wow.
I told you it's going to be a fast day.
Yeah, you said
I also
that.
didn't expect it to be this fast.
Yeah, this is really quick.
Man, what a beautiful game by Rogue.
Let's once again celebrate that Spore Crawler plug.
That was nice.
That is genius. Because now the Adepts just don't get anything done. Like, that's one of those moments you look at that and you go, oh, I will never do an Adept timing push again.
Yeah, at least not on that map.
Not on that map, yeah.
Not against Rogue.
I mean, here's the thing. Like, how many bases are there where you could just do that? Probably every map you could make a wall in like that with a Spore.
Yeah.
And just, you know, leave it unburrowed, and when it's time to burrow it, you just click it. You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of when we learned about Adept shades blocking other shades.
Ah, yeah.
It's like nobody knew about it, and then one day I'm casting. I think it was at Spo TV back in the day, and I'm like, oh my God, this is going to be a thing now everywhere, and it was.
Right. All right, Rogue versus NightMare, game 2 coming up now. See if Rogue's going to win game 2 and go to that winner's match.
Versus Rogue, a.k.a. Spore Door.
Spore Door. Protoss needs a door, man. Terran got a Zerg, Rogue's got a door. Where's our door?
We need a door, man.
We need a door.
Oh, there's a probe going across the map immediately.
Hatch block, I think.
Yeah, probably hatch block.
Oh, I would love some proxy gates, but not at this level.
Yeah, yeah.
That's more like my elo. But, woo, barely not going to get it. Very nice there for Rogue, but and just thinking back to that previous game, just sacking the mining time at the third base, knowing the Adept count is not going to be high enough that they can kill him. And all your forces couldn't just muster in front of the natural wall there as Rogue, so you're not at risk of, like, stray queens getting picked off by a group of 8 Adepts.
Right.
You're only losing the mining time. You're not losing the larva to replace the drones. You're not losing the drones themselves. And the kind of playstyle that NightMare went for in that game, with 4-gate glaives behind the Stargate into, I want to say it was 7 or 8-gate blink. It is so momentum-based, is Protoss. You need those Adepts to trade and get value. And then you need the Zerg to replace those drones, and you try to abuse that window with a Blink Stalker push. But Rogue, first with the wall in, just completely stymieing the Adept push.
Yeah, yeah.
And then with the counterattack, buying more time after spotting the proxy gateway.
Yeah.
There was negative momentum there for NightMare.
I like
he started
how you put
to try and
negative
scramble.
Momentum, yeah.
He tried to scramble, and he's like, okay, well, I have these gateways at the Twilight Council. I'm going to need splash damage because my army does not scale against what Rogue is going to have. And then Rogue hits a timing, I want to say like 15 seconds before Storm is done, and he gets the surround on the 4 High Templar. That was so by the book. That was like a perfect game from Rogue. I was just so impressed by his approach. Because usually ZVP, Protoss have a lot of tricks. You got Oracles, you got Void Rays, you have Adept Shades, and usually it's Protoss trying to throw a wrench into the Zerg machine.
Yeah.
And the question is, how well can the Zerg player juggle these problems that the Protoss is throwing at them? And will Protoss be able to get an advantage to build on that in the mid game? And Rogue just took, as you said, basically no damage. The Spore Door,
the Spore Door is
perfect.
sick. I mean, here's the thing. Like, you look at most games where Adepts come in, and there's a whole bunch of different variations of Adept builds. There's actually a lot of different ways and times you can come in with Adepts. Some are all ins, and some are just like little pressures. But normally, like when I look at games like that, what I do is I go, okay, well, how much damage can a Zerg endure in this position? And will this snowball the game out of control, or will this cripple the Zerg in a way where they can't recover? But that was the first time I went, oh, there's going to be 0 damage. This literally didn't do anything.
Yeah, it's like the opening Oracle. You expect it to get 2 or 3 drones no matter what.
Right. And it's like, ideally, you always get 2 or 3 drones. If not, it's kind of bad, but I guess the game goes on. And then let's say that the Zerg, isn't paying attention. He loses 6. Well, that's bad. But yeah, I just seeing the solution there, and the fact that Rogue was so smart to just preemptively pull the drones away.
Yeah, and it's not like it's a super innovative idea. It's just that a lot of players don't react fast enough to recognize the situation and then just set up that perfect defense.
Right.
So I was really impressed with Rogue's intuition. I mean, all of the movement, all the timings were spot on in that game, showing basically no rust. I could tell why he felt so confident in the interview heading into the matches today.
Now, in this game, it's going to be the Void Ray coming out again. Doesn't look like it's going to get much done. No Mass Link running there for the third base. Everything pretty much fine. Kind of a slow start.
Yeah,
we're still waiting to see where the tech is going to blossom for Protoss. We don't really know what kind of game we're in for yet.
It's a much more standard game. NightMare going for the fast third base, this time behind the Oracles, which, especially now with Energy Overcharge, for a second I thought NightMare was actually going to throw down a second Stargate, and I was like, hold the phone for a moment, but no. It will be a Twilight Council there in the main base, Rogue going up to Lairtech, and I just imagine we're going to have a little bit of a quiet game as we wait to see exactly who's going to pull the trigger first in terms of aggression.
Right.
These Oracles pretty late. This came after the Void Race, so the fact that NightMare hasn't gotten any damage done yet, no surprise, but ooh, be careful. It's a lot of hull damage on that Oracle.
Yeah. A couple of Lings come through here. Just a little bit of tit for tat here throughout the early game. We've got the 4th base coming. It doesn't seem like Protoss has any kind of timing attack ready. Last game, we had a timing attack when the Zerg was on 3 bases, but in this case, oh, nice block.
It's a speedy Adept. My Adept don't get there that fast.
This won't work, right? Can you target this?
No way. No way.
Kind of a greedy move there from NightMare.
It's ambitious.
Yeah.
It's very ambitious.
It is actually a really good thing to know is like how much of any combination of units will do enough damage to where the hatchery loses health faster than it regenerates.
Yeah, with the overcharge, or the, I don't know what to call it, the charge up on the Void Ray, it does dish out a ton of damage to those hatcheries, but 3 Queens just a little bit too much. Oh, man, is NightMare going to bleed out these Adepts? No, Rogue's playing pretty conservatively there with the Lings.
We're going into Templar tech now. Missile weapons is being upgraded for the Zerg.
Yeah, wow, nice and quick. I feel like this is basically as soon as the Twilight Council was done, that Templar Archives got thrown down.
It's basically like a Storm upgrade tech.
Yeah, wow, and we're going for extremely fast 6 gas. So this is NightMare basically wanting to play the game that he didn't really get to play.
Right, yeah.
In game number 1 after his initial builds got stopped so quickly. Oh no, Ling's coming in. No shield battery, so Archon's going to have to morph. It might not seem like a very big deal there for Protoss, but those first Templar, they're a real investment because those are the Templar that are most likely to have 4 storms by the time the eventual battle is going to commence, right? So resetting the energy count, that's painful there for NightMare. I'm sure he's kicking himself for not having better positioning or having a shield battery there at the 3rd. And very smart by Rogue to seize that moment and force the Archon morph in.
So, we're going to get into mass Hydras here. Now, Storm is the counter for that. That is literally the best thing you can have versus mass Hydras.
I think you open the help menu in StarCraft 2 and it tells you what counters what, and Storm's like, that's what you want against the Hydra list.
Yeah, the Prime official strategy guide.
But I don't know how many Storms there are going to be. Storm Tech is done. Of course, Energy Overcharge is available. You can see he already used that on that topmost Templar, so I think maybe 4 or 5 Storms in the bank. And Hydra's not very quick off creep in a situation like this one. So I think Rogue poking forward here. I would be surprised if he goes for this fight, but it almost looks like he's trying to set up a concave.
Gotta be careful, man. Hydras are pretty crappy off creep.
Yeah, they are very brittle units.
They are maybe the worst retreating units in the game. Actually, I think they, now that I think of it, I guess literally they are, right? Like, there's nothing that's worse than running away than Hydras off creep. Especially
because they're like, they're glass cannons. They're Marines that can't stem and like hobble on one leg. Oh, and a second Stargate and a Fleet Beacon coming in for NightMare. So I think he saw that push coming out, and he basically assessed, I am in no danger. Let's go into the late game. And I love this read because Rogue, at the same time, is going into Hive. He's fleshing out his upgrades. He's getting the Lurker Den. And so NightMare is going to be entering, you know, eventually a 4-base game against Rogue's Hive tech with a very stable defensive setup.
The creep spread's looking really good here for Rogue. We might be going into a Lurker push. This seems to be really strong. We saw a little bit of this yesterday, but basically wedging the Lurkers in a position where, like, if you didn't stop them from getting there, it's really hard to actually come in and recover.
Yeah, SOS really struggled with that in his game, but we got to keep in mind that, you know, SOS in those matches against those Lurkers, he never really had the Sky Toss that he needed to actually gain momentum, because eventually, once the Lurkers reach a high enough mass and they get all their Hive Tech upgrades, the Protoss needs air to contest on the ground. NightMare, he's going for air quite more quickly here, and actually, Rogue is coming in right now. I'm surprised he's doing this with just, what, 1, 2, 3, 4 Lurkers?
Are there more behind this? Maybe, I think there's more below on the screen, or is that really just 4?
Okay, more reinforcing. I guess this is a fantastic position.
Oh my God,
it's almost like a
here.
siege tank push coming in.
Yeah,
NightMare's been sectioned off from his own natural
look
expansion.
at that. You know what? I actually like what you said there. That's really smart. It's like a siege tank push. He's like got the Hydras and he kind of runs away, and the Lurkers are the tanks. I really like the way you pointed that out. That's a really good way to look at this.
Thank you, Tasteless.
Yeah. No, everyone, pause the game. Hold on. Stay. I really like that, okay? Do you understand that I'm trying to tell you how good you are as a caster?
I appreciate you, Tasteless.
Yeah. All right, so
yeah, for Rogue, this is just such a problem because, you know, NightMare, he can basically only warp in units to the left side. There's no Templar there. There's no splash damage. So these Hydras actually been doing quite some good work. But, you know, luckily for the Protoss player, NightMare had a very good read on the situation when he stopped the initial push of Hydras and knew he could go into air. So these Tempests, they are right in the nick of time. That's going to kind of put a timer here on this push. And oh, Mothership coming in. There's no detection here for Rogue. I think this will just get cleaned up.
The Hydras, I don't know if there's enough of them. There's just Lurkers left over, and this push was actually shut down. Now, Rogue has a pretty massive army behind this, but the fact that NightMare was able to drive this away is impressive. And again, we don't really see these kind of Lurker, kind of like a Terran push happen really, but I like it. I'm curious to see if we're going to have more of this or if this game's a one-off.
I feel like that fight for NightMare could have been a little bit better, though, because I don't think he realized what a good position it was with no Overseer. He might have assumed there was one just out of vision. But the Lurkers were shelling all of the units at the third base during that fight, while the Mothership had actually cloaked the main army there by the natural expansion. So the trade for Rogue, even though he did lose that position, it actually wasn't that bad. And behind it, 87 drones in total, Tasteless. So Rogue is really reaching his final form here in the late game. He's pumping out a ton more Lurkers. I think 7 just finished. He's getting all of his Hive Tech coming in. He's expanding everywhere across the map. The creep spread, which you mentioned a few minutes ago was good, is now even better. And NightMare is going to have a really hard time getting a foothold on the map against a Rogue that is very mobile and very powered up.
Okay, the Lurkers are going to come in here, and this is a double-pronged attack. So, like, I think this base up here at 12 will fall. Even if the Tempest can drive out all the Lurkers, I think. Oh, never mind. He's actually going to pull away.
Trade.
Yeah, he doesn't want to lose it. I thought he was going to commit down onto that. But I guess the reality is so many workers are being killed here. We're almost at the 30. By the way, there's 87 now drones for Rogue. Yeah. Almost half his supply is just workers. So he's got a pretty crazy engine. Obviously, the more workers you have, the less of a big army you can have in the game. You're capped at 200, but wow, you know, at this point in time, Rogue looking really good.
Yeah, Rogue basically just kneecapped the economy of NightMare. He didn't kill the 4th base, but I think he killed basically every single probe that was there with the Lurkers. And that's why he was like, you know what, I'm not going to trade. Like, these Lurkers are worth way more than one Nexus.
Right.
Your economy's already in shambles. I am in your natural. And now it's 50 probes here for NightMare. He's trying to credit boost more of them out. But the saturation just isn't there right now. You can see at the bottom of the screen, 3,000 minerals a minute, 1,600 gas per Rogue. Very little here for NightMare. Great storm on those Corruptors. If the Archons can connect too, that will go a long way to securing the air fight here for NightMare. Doing a great job of zoning away the Zerg army. And here is Protoss. Until he gets that word count back up, NightMare needs to be basically perfect on his defense. He cannot be caught out of position. If he loses any of these high-cost units, the Tempest, the Templars, they are not going to be easily replaced. It's a very, very dangerous line to walk here for NightMare.
So now we're going to go into Ultralisks here. Oh my god, the Corruptors are so high in number. Are they going to be able to take out this mothership? Somehow not, actually.
Oh, the Tempest falling, though. A lot of them get whittled down. The Lurkers did a great job of zoning away the Archons, making room for the battered and bruised Corruptors to actually finish off a lot of that Protoss fleet. And these are the fights that Rogue needs to take and win. I mean, he has the worker advantage. He just droned all the way back up to 85. His economy is just incredible, and so he doesn't even need to be necessarily cost efficient in these trades. He just needs to whittle down the key units, and once again, coming with the Corruptors. Storm, not that bad, but the mothership's gonna fall. Lurker's doing a great job of just buying space for the Corruptors to kill everything in the air. I think we only have, what, 2 Tempest on the field? That's it. Everything else is on the ground here for NightMare, and I'm not sure he can handle the Lurker count as it exists currently, but 8 more are about to pop. We're going to have 15 Lurkers, Tasteless.
Yeah. Luckily for NightMare, he's actually boosted his supply to the point where I think he can contend with some of this army, but Rogue is very good at beating up the Protoss early on and then making it an almost impossible game for the rest of the game. And this is a massive map, by the way. There's plenty of expansion still to be taken. He's going to try to push through here. Again, the Lurkers, the way they're positioned. Oh, hold on. Ooh. I think Rogue smells blood.
Those Lurkers going to do some heavy damage on those Archons.
Nice side storm there.
I mean, NightMare is controlling this really well, but Rogue just has so much map control, so much mobility, so much speed. And also, he has the ability to take these trades that aren't cost efficient because his economy is just so much better. I mean, look at the map. He's got so many bases set up already. Still sitting at 85 drone. Now, I love NightMare coming in for a counterattack right now with these Zealots. Protoss behind all of this has somehow been able to muster enough force to have effectively a maxed army on the ground again, which is a feat in and of itself. One decisive fight here for NightMare could carry some more momentum for him into the late game. But Rogue, once again, attacking the 12 o'clock position you can see right there on the minimap while shelling down the natural expansion. It's deja vu from just a couple more minutes ago. Yeah, and I don't know how NightMare is going to break out of this position again. His army just isn't really good at attacking head-on into Lurkers.
Yeah, and he's actually isolated this. Look, both ramps are covered, and the moment that there's an imbalance over here, he says, okay, you're down here, I'm going to dive into your next base. Take this out.
Fantastic maneuvering here by Rogue.
Less than 30 probes in this game right now, and that number is just getting smaller and smaller.
It was like 65 a minute ago.
Yeah.
41 probes have died in like
insane.
The last, what, 30 seconds? I mean, Rogue just in complete control. He is looking to be in great form.
Yeah, I mean, he just looks so strong. I think this game's over.
I think so, too. I mean, NightMare, of course, is going to try and fight it out. This is GSL Code S after all, but eventually he will come to terms with this mountain just being impossible to climb.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what else to say here. The infrastructure is going to be wiped out in a second here. GG. Rogue takes that 2-0. We got Maru versus Rogue coming up next. Hell yes.
What a series from Rogue. Game number 1, perfect defense. NightMare just unable to build any momentum with a momentum-based game plan. And then in game number 2, Rogue just dominating the map. Fantastic unit maneuvering. It's been 9 months.
It's been a long time.
I've always fumbled over my words a little bit, but give me a year-long break of casting StarCraft and things get bad.
Yeah, we're back though. We're hitting the gym again. We're doing our reps. Okay, so we are going to go into a short break, guys. Coming up next, the winner's match. We're already here. It's crazy how fast this is moving.
Yeah.
Rogue versus Maru in just a little bit. See you soon.